Hi, my name is Yvonne Henderson, and I am going to be talking about the topic on depression. We hear that word vaguely sometimes. The way that Webster Dictionary describes depression is a feeling of sadness, loneliness, often unable to live a really normal life. According to the archives of the year 2005 of general psychiatry, there's about 14.8 million adults that suffer from depression. These are adult people. That's not including children and elderly people, but a lot of people suffer from this illness. Now, depression can also be associated with the elderly, people that have suffered a heart attack. There's about 25% of people that have cancer that have depression associated with that. Out of the people that have heart attacks, there's about 2 to 3 people that survive a heart attack that are also diagnosed with depression. Now, according to the National Institute of Mental Health, the baby blues, all of us, a lot of females experience baby blues after giving birth to a child, suffer from severe depression. One person that stands out for me is Andrea Yates. She was a mom that had 5 children. She lived in Houston at the time, and she ended up drowning her children in a bathtub. And that made shocking news worldwide, I think. Another form of depression is what they call seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. When I first read this, I didn't think that how could people be depressed because of the time changes, the seasons. But when there's less light, it affects people's moods. And when the seasons start, like when you start going into the fall toward the winter, it affects people's moods. You have low energy, you have less things that you want to accomplish, want to do, and you're just not as active as you would be like when there's more light during the day. Some of the symptoms of depression, like I said, are sadness, thinking of suicide, daily, weekly, you're irritable, you're angry, you're just short with people, your loved ones, your energy levels are really low, you don't want to do normal things that you normally do or that you find joy in, so people withdraw. I know that people just get away from other people that they're close to, a husband, a spouse, or their children. Now, for treatments, there is treatments out there. There's treatments that can be, it can be medication. You can have therapy sessions. There's support groups. If you're employed, there's the Employee Assistance Program. There's websites. There's crisis toll-free numbers that you can call. I know even teenagers have their toll-free numbers that they can call if they're in a crisis, wanting to commit suicide. So those are all things that you can look into. Right now we're going to watch a short clip from Mike Wallace regarding depression. Starting.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
In the developed world, depression will be the #1 cause of disability.
The world just seemed dark and sad.
In my case, there was anger, there was frustration, there was quite a bit of fear, and it all resulted in a form of paralysis.
It truly is an illness, and one that we have to educate the public as an illness, and the payers and the practitioners to see it, treat it, recognize it as an illness.
When depression isn't seen as an illness, it can ruin lives.
and it can even take lives.
It involves changes in our ability to think, concentrate, remember. It involves changes in the way we feel about ourselves, our lives, our future, and indeed, when depression is severe enough, we sometimes think that life is not worth living.
I found myself very lethargic. I found myself having a very difficult time getting up and out of bed in the morning. I also found myself pulling back from my friends and from my family.
Powerful words, and a powerful reminder that depression is more than just sadness. It is crippling, disabling, and it can be life-threatening. I know because I've been there. For many years I suffered with depression, battling its darkness in private, afraid as most people are that my condition would be discovered and seen not as an illness, but as a personal weakness. Thankfully, I've come to understand that depression is a real biological illness and nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, 19 million Americans live with depression, so I am hardly alone. The good news is depression can be treated and prevented if we take the right action. No one chooses to have this illness, but as a nation we can choose to provide better care for those who do suffer from it. We can improve access to care for people and families affected by depression. We can improve the quality of depression treatment. And we can improve the availability of peer support that can be life-saving. This program will explore the experiences of depression from the perspectives of those who live with it and those who treat it and research it. Although these are people from all walks of life, they have each experienced depression's devastating symptoms, and they understand the sense of shame and isolation that often accompanies mental illness.
People with depression are far too often seen as weak. They're seen as having some sort of flaw, and that could not be farther from the truth, because people with depression have backbones of steel.
The picture that others had of me at that time was...
Thank you. Thank you. Just in conclusion, depression is treatable. It's a chemical imbalance that people experience. It is embarrassing. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to talk about it to anyone because you feel you're going to be judged. I myself personally suffer from depression, and did I inherit this from my mom? I don't know. I just know that my grandmother, my mom, myself, and my daughters suffer from depression, and that's a generation of, that's 4 generations. But I wasn't diagnosed until I was in my mid-30s, and it hasn't been an easy road, and I'm not embarrassed like I used to be, and I take medication daily to overcome that, and so I want to thank you so much for being a part of my my speech, my presentation. And I pray that people can overcome depression. Thank you.